Welcome to Study Session 2, The Nature of Groups. Introduction. The broad aim of this study session is to introduce the learner to the various meanings, characteristics, and classifications of social groups, and also analyze the differences between the various types of social groups. Learning outcomes. At the end of this study session, you should be able to 1. Define and understand the meaning of the concept of the group. 2. Discuss the various classifications of social group. 3. Discuss the size of groups. Definitions of group. What do we mean exactly by group? The word group has many meanings, and many people have defined the term in different ways. While some people apply group to a collection of objects or things, others apply the term to both collection of objects and people which are capable of being classified together. Herbert Thelin, 1754, in his own view, asserts that in an immediate experience, at any one time, only a relatively small number of people are involved with a person, and that the word group is used to indicate these people. According to him, depending on the activity and the situation, the group not only contains different people, the relationship among them are also different. While G.G. Kemp says that there exists a human group only when there is an interaction among an aggregate of people, K.B. Cattell defines group as an aggregate of organisms in which the existence of all is utilized for the satisfaction of some needs of each. However, Matthew Miles, 1973, defines group as several persons working in a face-to-face setting on a task that requires their cooperation. For example, a study or discussion group, a school's board of directors going through its agenda, a teachers' association meeting on a new salary schedule, and so on. The definition of group is inexhaustible. In everyday usage, group commonly means a number of things in one place or a number of people congregated at the same time in the same place. Sociological definition of group. Group, as a sociological concept, means something other than what is commonly understood by the term, that is, a number of people congregated in the same place at the same time. For example, in the context of sociology, 15 students cramming for an examination in the student's lounge or in a classroom are not necessarily a group. Also, 20 commuters, passengers, in a Danfo bus heading for different destinations are not necessarily a group. In essence, this implies that a crowd of people gathered together at the same place is not a group if nothing else is known about these people except that they are in the same place at the same time. Such a crowd is better referred to as aggregates, not groups. In sociological terms, therefore, a number of people is not a group regardless of its size, goals, or origin, unless it meets the following conditions. A sociological group must include symbolic interaction, recognition of group membership, a degree of consensus on norms, values and goals, and a social structure. Symbolic interaction. In a sociological group, there is physical and, more importantly, symbolic interaction among the members. Symbolic interaction is communication through speeches, gestures, writing, or even music. Symbolic interaction need not involve face-to-face communication. In this kind of communication, members are aware of one another. Mutual awareness causes the group members to respond or behave in particular ways and thus influence one another. Interaction is expected to continue to occur indefinitely, although many groups form and then disperse within short periods of time. Recognition of group membership. Each member recognizes that he is part of the group. Conversely, the group also recognizes each person as a member. In other words, the individual member derives a feeling of identity from group membership. Social structure. Groups have structure, that is, members are aware of the relationship, status, position, roles, norms, duties, and obligations, as well as the privileges that result from group membership. As a matter of fact, physical interaction alone is not sufficient to generate a group. For sociologists, symbolic interaction, perceived membership, and a social structure are the vital prerequisites for determining that a collection of people is a group. Moreover, members of a group need not to be personal friends. As long as there is a kind of communication among people that results in mutual adjustment of behavior, and there is an awareness of common membership and its implication, the people make a group. In a nutshell, sociological definition of group implies and emphasizes the interaction of members of a group in such a way that the behavior of each member is changed by his or her group membership. This definition has relevance for group guidance and counseling, which is the concern of this course. This course is concerned with how individual behavior is modified or changed through group membership and interaction. In group guidance, a group consists of two or more persons who voluntarily have contact, proximity, and interaction intended to produce change in each member. As a result of participation, members interact with and influence each other. Modifications occur in each member because of the participation and experiences shared with other members. Other criteria set forth to characterize guidance group rather than merely a collection of individuals are dynamic interaction between and among members. This is the driving force which is instrumental to growth or change. A common goal. The group members pursue a common goal. A relationship between size and function. The guidance group can be small or large in size depending on the purpose of the group concerned. Volition and consent. Guidance and counseling group members have to join the group out of their own volition, that is, will. At times, consent must be obtained from a student or from his parents or guardian or the school principal before the student is involved in group guidance or counseling. A capacity for self-direction. It is assumed that guidance group members possess capacity for self-direction, which is necessary for decision making. Classification of groups. There are many groups in a society, and sociologists employ several criteria to classify them. Groups are classified according to size, interest, duration, goals, and purposes, type of organization and quality of interaction, etc. One common basis of differentiation or classification has been the main function served by the group, such as educational, religious, recreational, political, and so on. Another basis for classification is degree of permanence. Group range from the very temporary to the highly stable. That is, groups can be temporary, for instance, discussion or counseling groups, or permanent, for example, the family. Types of social groups. The following are the types of social groups. 1. Dyads versus triads. 2. Primary versus secondary groups. 3. In-groups versus out-groups. 4. Psyche groups versus social groups. 5. Closed groups versus continuous groups. Dyads versus triads. Dyads are groups consisting of 2 people. It is considered to be the most elementary social unit. The dyad remains a social unit as long as both individuals agree to belong to it. When one withdraws, the group ceases to exist. Examples of dyads are husband and wife or 2 friends. While dyads consist of 2 members, triads consist of 3 members. Triads make up a more stable social unit than dyads because if one member withdraws, a triad still survives. One of the contemporary sociologists, Theodore Kaplow, maintains that triads are the building blocks that underlie all social organizations. He concludes that in a triad, the 2 weaker members tend to form a coalition against the one strong member. Primary versus secondary groups. Primary groups are those in which the members meet face to face for questions confronting them. Examples of primary group include the family, the play group, the partnership, and the study group. Such groups are called primary because they are first in time, allocation, and importance. The primary group is characterized by the following listed features below, and figure 2.2 shows an example of family group. 1. Small size. 2. Nearness of members. 3. Similarity of members' background. 4. Limited self-interest. 5. Intensity of shared interest. 6. Group stability. 7. Continuous interaction and long duration. 8. Informality. Secondary groups are those in which the members are not as intimate and contact is more casual. Examples of secondary group include large lecture groups or committees. Secondary groups are characterized by the following: large size, short duration of interaction, formality, impersonality, that is, in a secondary group, there is no reference to a particular person. Primary relationships may develop into secondary ones, and sometimes a secondary relationship becomes primary. For example, a stranger could become a friend or even a spouse. In-group versus out-groups. In-groups are those groups with which an individual identifies by virtue of awareness or consciousness of a kind. Examples of such groups include club, sex, family, occupation, religion, etc. The individual's expression of subjective attitudes frequently reveals in-group membership. These memberships, in turn, are often related to a particular social circumstance. In-group membership can provide individuals with their social identity and be supportive to their endeavors. At the societal level, in-group feelings promote unity and cohesion from feelings of belonging and togetherness. On the other hand, out-group is defined by the individual in relation to the in-groups, usually by the expression of contrast between we and they, us and them, or other. For example, people who belong to the same group, say one family or people from one ethnic group or a debating society in a school, will see themselves as belonging together. Hence, we, us, and see, regard, and treat other people who do not belong to their group, for instance, people from another family or ethnic group, as other people. Hence, they, them. Outgroups' attitudes are marked by expressions of difference and sometimes by a degree of antagonism, prejudice, hatred, or apathy, lack of feelings or interest. The existence of in-groups and out-groups contribute to conflict and divisiveness in societies. Racial and ethnic clashes and tensions in different societies are examples of such conflicts. This is so because each in-group considers itself as a good people, implying that the out-group consists of bad people. Psyche groups versus social groups. Psyche groups are characterized by informal structure, few regulations, voluntary membership, homogeneity of members' age, and no visualized goal. Their purpose are to satisfy the members' emotional needs. Examples of psyche groups are gang, clique, etc. Social groups, on the other hand, are characterized by visualized goals. Heterogeneity in age, that is, it can include people of various ages, old and young, and status of members. They are problem-solving and task-oriented. Examples of social groups are School Dropout Committee to solve the problem of school dropout, Alcoholic Anonymous, AA, to solve the problem of alcoholism among its members, etc. Closed groups versus continuous groups. The closed group consists of only those who are present when the group was started. In that case, no one else may be allowed to join after the group has been formed. Closed group is very common among various group formations. The continuous group, on the other hand, is one that is open to other people to join at any stage of progression. It does not matter whether one is present when the group initially started or not, because one can join the group at any time he or she wishes to. This, however, often creates problems of communication, acceptance, and the attainment of readiness to participate fully by new group members. Counseling groups may be closed or continuous, that is open depending on the nature of the problem being treated. Reference group. Reference groups may be defined as the group that serves as a point of comparison to which persons aspire and whose attributes and perspectives are taken on by the individual. They are the groups that provide individuals with standards with which they evaluate their own statuses against that of others. Reference groups affect people's values, goals, attitudes, and behavior. Reference groups are important in socialization. The size of groups. Sociologists also consider groups from the standpoint of their size. Groups can be small or large in size. Small group, large group. Small group, such as the family, a circle of close friends, a clique within a large organization, and a committee formed for specific problem solving, share the following common characteristics. 1. Relations among members are usually on a face-to-face basis. 2. Generally, members share common values. 3. The group is usually durable. 4. Members exhibit feelings of identification with the group and group loyalty. 5. In general, members accept one another. 6. Members perceive the group as a separate entity. 7. Members perceive the group as striving to fulfill definite goals. In addition to the above characteristics, small groups usually value stable membership. The difficulty of joining them enhances membership. They greatly influence the behavior of their members. In small groups, democratic leadership is more effective than it is within large groups. Large groups. Large groups have characteristics that are opposites of those of small groups. For example, relations among members are not always on a face-to-face basis. Membership may not share common values. The group is not usually durable. There may be no feeling of identification within the group. Large groups tend to resemble secondary groups discussed earlier in their characteristics. Large groups are usually highly organized. This elaborate discussion on groups generally is to equip the learner with comprehensive knowledge about what groups are all about. This will provide a solid foundation for better understanding of subsequent lectures on which various group models, formation, and processes in the guidance program. Summary of study session. In this study session, you have learned that 1. We have been able to define group from different perspectives, the most comprehensive being the sociological definition. From the sociological point of view, a group must include symbolic interaction, recognition of group membership, a degree of consensus on norms, values and goals, and a social structure. 2. Types of social groups include dyads versus triads, primary versus secondary, in-groups versus out-groups, psyche versus social, closed versus continuous, and reference groups. 3. Sociologists also consider groups from the standpoint of their size. Groups can be small or large in size. This is the end of study session 2. Thanks for listening.